my different videos that I've done. So if you guys haven't seen like the high design series, my main kind of flagship series, I've talked about a number of different strategies, right? Because what we do in the high design series is we tell the story of cannabis entrepreneurs and their brand, and then we analyze that brand and that story, and then we try to extract different strategies and how were they successful, right? That's the whole idea of the name high design. What was the design to their success, right? Well, it's just so that we can all understand it. It's like a case study, right? And then so when studying, like, for example, like Ray Bama, jokes on Runtz, pretty much studying for example Burner as well. What I noticed, right, is that because hold up, let's just pull out let's just go to the video, and I'll have a past video that I did just explain it a little bit better. Okay, here we go. Thanks for the patience. I can't hear, I guess, so I don't, for some reason, I can't. Anyway, let me just try this, actually. Take this out. Let me see if that works. Hopefully that works. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Ray Bama.
Okay.
And he'd also get to know people like Burner.
Which I don't even know. Burner was
So this is from 2 years ago, right? But this is one of these tactics, right? This is, like I said, if you watch some of the early high design videos that I've done, I highly recommend you do, because there's a lot to be learned. You just have to understand, like, I don't necessarily like, there's things you could take and some things you could keep, right? When it comes to like taking those strategies and putting into your own strategy. But let's go to the part what I'm talking about.
Lens as a framework, we can start to find some differences between the two styles.
2 days, 1 pass, 50 guys, Runtz gang, yes sir. Hey, 2 days, 1 pass, 50 guys, Runtz gang, yeah. 2 days, 1 pass, 50 guys, Runtz gang, yeah.
Nah, when you in our backyard, jokes up, you see what's going on.
Rush your life up.
That's just where it started, you feel me? But it's a West Coast wear, you feel me? Everybody can rock that. Even you niggas on the East Coast, you feel me? The west side of New York niggas can rock this, you feel me? It's
okay, sorry.
Different communities.
I went way too ahead. I went way far. Okay, this is the part I was talking about, I guess. Okay, I make it. Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna run to the bathroom here as well.
So when someone is on the road and in the street. In 2018, when California's recreational market opened up, Burner and Cookies Cannabis would buy 50% of the Runtz brand. But why did Burner want to do this? Well, in a Leafly article for the 2020 strain, it knew Runtz would work. So when someone goes, we're campaigning and hard work, dedication. The leader, rapper Young LB, puts in lots of time on the road and in the studios. We're campaigning and hard work, dedication, and solid marketing created a crazy wave, end quote. So when someone is running for president, they travel the country campaigning for why they should get your vote. The term ground game in politics typically refers to a candidate's local support / infrastructure. A presidential candidate can go from state to state, and when they arrive, there are campaign staff and volunteers typically led by local leaders. Now, as you guys can see, what Burner's saying in that quote, right, running a campaign. So there's a ground game that Young LB and his team actually had truly mastered. And while LB wasn't running for president, and instead of him trying to get voted into office, he got votes for the Runtz strain, figuratively speaking. Campaigning for your strain or genetics means you need to be traveling from state to state for a certain time period promoting your flavors. A politician pays for the expenses of travel via campaign contributions. But how can you afford promotional tours across the United States? Well, rappers go on tour. And rappers, when on tour, typically look to link up with people from different communities they travel to. Instead of town halls and rallies, there's show venues and recording studios. In 2008, we saw Barack Obama lead a masterful presidential campaign, and coming out of nowhere.
Are you guys following me on the correlation here, that the kind of the example I'm kind of giving here? It's kind of like, for Runtz, right? They were campaigning for the brand. Well, they're campaigning for the strain and the brand. And what they were doing, they were going to all these different markets, whether they were legal or not. They had people sending them a bunch of packaging. They filled that packaging with, whatever they could find, or maybe they were. And they got the name Runtz bubbling in the streets. Now we'll talk more about that here after we finish this up here.
To win the presidential election. 8 to 9 years later, we saw LB and his team run a campaign in the streets that would lead into the current era we're in now, the Runtz era.
Don't worry, guys. This is 2 years ago, 3 years ago almost. So we're not in that era anymore.
Also, I think that Burner definitely showcased this use of touring around the country to network and, create new opportunities for cookies as well. So, but being on the road and running a campaign in the streets is without a doubt a major contributing factor to the success of the Runtz strain and brand, like I mentioned earlier. Referencing back to that Leafly article for 2020 Strain of the Year, where Burner talks about how cookies and Runtz actually have a very, very similar business model. Both cookies and Runtz are brands that their actual names originate from very, very, very popular strains. Both brands have successful clothing brands, and both.
And so personally, guys, I think that nowadays, I think we're moving to the era away from having your brand be the name of a strain. I think it's honestly not really smart long term. Like, I would rather be personally like a Jungle Boys or a Backpack Boys. So, for example, Backpack Boys is famous for the lemon cherry gelato. I would rather be in that situation than I would rather than be in the situation of being a Runtz, right? Like, think about it too. Like, cookies got big enough to the point where they surpassed that kind of being overshadowed by the strain, right? But Runtz had some trouble. They still kind of like, they didn't fully. I mean, people know that was a brand, but it took time. It took like videos like mine. People, when people commented on this video being like, "Wait, Runtz was a brand? I thought it was just a strain." So, I do think that the modern, you want people to come here. Also, I'll let 3 years younger me explain it.
Brands leverage music as a marketing tool to promote their brand's clothing and cannabis. But that's not to say that cookies and Runtz have been identical in their approaches to marketing their brands. While yes, both Burner and Young LB leverage their music to promote the brand, I think where we start to see a difference is that Burner has a much more individual.
Okay, so does that make sense? I mean, kind of an overview. I think, like, really from a marketing standpoint, if you analyze cookies, you analyze Runtz, you analyze some of the more hype brands that are coming out of Cali, I think they do a lot of things right. I think that they're I think there's a lot to learn from them. I also think that they do some stuff that's wrong as well. So learn from mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. A smart man learns from their own mistakes. Right. Very few people are the wise man. Let's just say.